Hello and welcome to another emulator test. I have here with me the new Samsung Note 20 Ultra with the latest Snapdragon 865 Plus. This pen is so smooth. It's just wow. As far as I know, only America and Korea are getting the Snapdragon version of this phone. The rest of the world is getting the Exynos, and it won't perform as well in these emulators. So keep in mind, we are testing the Snapdragon 865 Plus. As for the Note 20 Ultra, the performance will vary depending on where you buy it. But moving on. I already did a test on the 865 back when the S20 Ultra was released. And obviously I'm not expecting any big difference, since the Plus model only brings a slight increase in performance. So I'll be testing the games that were pushing the limits of the 865. Those games where you are getting like 95% speeds, and see if the 865 Plus is able to deliver the ultimate goal of 100%. For this reason, I'm skipping every old console. All the Game Boys, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, like all of that is working amazingly well. So we're going to jump right into Dolphin Emulator. I'll be using the Xbox controller so my hands are not all over the screen, and also because it's the best way to play emulators. The good news is that Vulkan is fixed now. A couple months ago it wasn't, and you were getting better performance using OpenGL, but now the tables have turned. Here is Need for Speed Underground running in OpenGL. You can see it's jumping around 30 to 40 FPS, depending on which part of the track, going into 50 if you change the camera. And here is using Vulkan. We're now averaging between 40 to 50 FPS, and if we change the camera, it's now hitting constant 60 FPS. You can see it in the video, and you can see it in real life. Everything is now super smooth, and you can really feel the speed as you race around the city. It's one of my favorite PS2 games, and I'm really happy that you can finally run it at full speed, 60 frames per second on a phone. Another game that was on the edge of being perfectly playable is Automodelista. I tried it on my last video as well, and it was working well, but not on every track. There are really problematic tracks where it was constantly dropping frames and having slowdowns. And here's one of them, running on Vulkan. You can see all those problems are finally gone. This track used to stutter a lot, it was unplayable. And here, it's running at 60 FPS. There's still the occasional drop in frames, but it's much less noticeable going from 60 to 55 compared to the constant stutter from before. So this is another game that, thanks to the fixed Vulkan backend and the extra juice in the new Snapdragon 865 Plus, is now officially perfectly playable. Moving on to Need for Speed Most Wanted. Huge improvements. This game was barely playable on the S20 Ultra. The FPS were really on the low side, and here it's not perfect yet. It can hit and maintain 60 FPS in some parts, but in others there's huge drops into 40 and even 30. Still, it's much better than before, but I can't give it the perfectly playable badge. I'll just give it the actually playable badge. Next, Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. This game has a ton of action going on at all times. It can maintain 60 FPS fairly well, with drops when stuff gets too crazy. I played this game a lot on my S20 and it's better, but I think the other game's improvement is more noticeable. This one was already running fine for most parts. Still, no perfect batch, but it's playable and it's super fun to play. Playing for around 30 minutes and the temperature is at 40 degrees. So that's good. The S20 Ultra runs cooler. I feel like it maxes out at 38 no matter how much I play. But still, 40 degrees is not bad. Next game is Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii. This is one of the big Wii titles. It's an open world RPG that runs locked at 30 FPS. It has some occasional stutter, but it's playable. Although since it maxes out at 30 FPS, it never feels smooth. But that's just a limitation of the game and not the emulator or processor. Next is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This game ran fine on my S20, but for some reason it wasn't playing well on the Note 20. It just kept stuttering and running super slow. I tried changing to OpenGL, but it was still bad. I checked my S20 again, and it's stuttering there too. So something happened on either the emulator or Samsung, because the performance is worse now. But anyway, after messing around with the settings, I got it to run better. Using the compile shaders before starting option, and turning off the FPS counter, I got the performance to go back like it used to. So in this case, there's no performance increase, it just runs as well as before. This game is locked at 30 FPS too, so performance is as good as it'll ever get. This is FIFA 15, it just runs super smooth at full speed, and it gets the perfectly playable badge. Another game that is working super well is Guitar Hero Metallica. Yes, Guitar Hero with a keyboard. You just hold the keyboard like a guitar and map the keys to the numbers, and it's just like the real thing. You probably can connect the MIDI drums to your phone and map the keys to each pad and play guitar and drums multiplayer. Or with just 2 keyboards you can play guitar bass. Anyway, it's a full Guitar Hero game running flawlessly on your phone. Now we have PPSPP, and as the name suggests, it's a PSP emulator. Not just a PSP emulator, this is the best emulator there is. This emulator doesn't just run the game, it makes them look 1,000 times better. A recent update now allows you to render the game at 10 times over the native resolution. That's insane. Here's the game running at native resolution and running at 10 times. All the lines are so smooth, it's like you are playing a HD remaster of the original. As someone who owns a PSP, playing these games again in such a high quality on a phone is something my teenager self could never imagine. You have many great titles like GranTurismo, God of War, Tekken, Killzone, Tomb Raider, and to top it all off, it has working multiplayer. You can connect 2 phones or more depending on the game and play together. This is really amazing and it's free. It's free. This emulator is free. With emulators like this, you never have to touch a game from the Play Store again. I'm not going to test DOM on PS2 because that's basically a scam. PS2 emulation is miles and miles from ever being possible on a phone. And if the most powerful processor in the market can't play 99.9% of the games, then that app is useless. And they have the guts to charge money for an app that runs 2 games at half speed. So please forget PS2 emulators on Android. It's not happening. Your best option is to do like me and get your favorite PS2 games for the GameCube and use Dolphin, which is a free app and works really well too. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, and if you have any question or suggestion, shoot it in the comments. And thank you for watching and have a great day.